What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. I'm Nick. Today I'm talking about the 30th anniversary box set for one of the best albums of the 90s, Mellon Collie and the Infinite Sadness by the Smashing Pumpkins. There's a bunch of links down below. You got links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for the merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music playlist that I put together every week, and the Patreon page. So make sure you check all that out. Like always, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button down below, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I release new episodes. So the Smashing Pumpkins released their third studio album on October 23rd, 1995, and I've long said, it's an album that I consider one of the best albums of the 90s. I think one of the most significant albums in the middle part of the decade also. It was something I didn't really appreciate when it was first released, but looking back on it, I think it was more than just an album. It was more like a work of art. Musically, it was a blend of alternative rock, pop, grunge, metal, had orchestral elements to it. It was an album like no other in the mainstream around that time. I remember going out and picking it up on cassette shortly after it was released. I was 16 at the time, and it was an album that I don't think I really truly understood and saw the brilliance of at that time. I love the more straightforward alternative rock and grunge that was on Siamese Dream and Pisces Iscariot, so it took me a little while to kind of come around to what they were trying to do on Mellon Collie. Around the time the album was released, I remember seeing an interview with Billy Corgan where he said he saw the album almost like The Wall or the 90s version of The Wall, and I kind of saw that almost as blasphemy around that time. But kind of looking back on the album, I see a lot of similarities between the two albums. Yes, Mellon Collie doesn't have quite the theatrics that The Wall does, but I think if there's any album in the 90s that's comparable, I think it is Mellon Collie. Especially when you consider that Mellon Collie is probably the most, or at least one of the most ambitious albums of the decade. So I was a little surprised we really hadn't heard a whole lot leading up to the 30th anniversary of this album. I figured, they would do some kind of 30th anniversary tour. I figured there'd be kind of some kind of 30th anniversary pressing or 30th anniversary release for this album. But since the album is already readily available on vinyl, I didn't really know what they would do as far as like a physical version of the album. Because really what I thought they would do for a 30th anniversary release is release the album on vinyl with the original artwork, because it hasn't been released with the original artwork on vinyl in a very, very long time. And since the album has almost 30 songs on it, there's got to be songs they didn't use, there's got to be outtakes, there's got to be demos, there's got to be extra material that they could put together for a 5th LP. And to package all that together and do a 5 LP 30th anniversary box set, which wouldn't be this big, ridiculously priced box set, which is what they end up releasing. I will say that when they announced this box set, this 30th anniversary box set, 6 LPs, it does look nice. I do love the artwork. It does look really cool, even though it is not the original artwork for the album. Before I saw the price for it, I started doing the math in my head. The 4 LP box set on their website, I think is like $175 if you want to go on there and pick up a copy. So I knew it was going to be more than that. Even though if you go other places online, you can get that box set for a lot cheaper than $175. And then this 30th anniversary box set comes with 2 additional LPs of live material from 1996. And I will say it's not a live concert like a lot of other bands do. This is pieced together from the tour, so it's like a greatest hits compilation from that tour. So that does add an additional 80 minutes of unreleased material into the box set. So I was thinking, maybe another $50 on top of that 175. So I was thinking somewhere in the neighborhood, around $250 is probably what I was thinking the box set would cost. So I was really surprised to see that the price tag for this box set is $350. There is some extra stuff that's included in this box set. This is the stuff that I call fluff. This is the stuff that you look at once or twice and put back in the box and never really touch again. Yes, there are some people out there that will hang lithographs and look through the book multiple times, but I think a vast majority of people out there will probably never, ever touch most of the stuff that's included in these box sets. So there's a hardbound book in there. Like I said, you might look through that a few times. There's custom tarot cards, which for me will just stay in the box. I'll never even touch that kind of stuff. There's 7 lithographs. It all comes housed in this really nice deluxe slipcase, which, like I said, I love the artwork on the slipcase. It comes with this, cloth carrying case, which I don't really get the point of that. You kind of cover up all the artwork, kind of makes the box set or the slipcase kind of pointless at that point, especially if you're going to put this, on your shelf with all your records. Why would you need a cloth carrying bag for it? Some of the stuff that's included in there might be cool to some people out there, but I think a vast majority of people, really aren't going to give a damn about most of that. Like I said, you can go on the band's website and pick up the standard version of this album for $175. If you look around online, you can get it for a lot cheaper than that. I know Amazon at one point last year had this album on sale for, I think it was like 75 or $80. I know a lot of people in the Vinyl Den Facebook group picked it up around that time. So even if you were to pick up the album for $175, you mean to tell me that 2 LPs of live material, which from everything I've heard in 1996, the Smashing Pumpkins were not great live. So you get some live material and then a bunch of stuff that I think a lot of people don't care about is an additional $175 in this box set. I mean, I'd love to have a copy of this 30th anniversary box set, even though I have a version of the standard album, but I absolutely refuse to pay that kind of price for something like this. So I'm sure this is somewhat limited. I'm not sure how limited this is. They didn't put on their website anywhere how many copies of this they're pressing. So come the end of the year when websites start having their 25 or 30% off sales, if I can grab this for somewhere around that, $225 to $250, I'll gladly grab a copy of it, even though at that price point, I think it's still on the upper end of what a 6 LP box set really does cost these days. But I'd grab a copy of it just because, like I said, it is one of my favorite albums from the 90s. Plus, I know I can sell my standard version of the album, kind of offset some of that price. But since I really don't know how limited this is, who knows? This thing might be sold out by the time this video comes out. I know there was a limited version that was signed that was put up on the website that I think was like $500. That sold out pretty quickly. So as much as I complain about pricing for box sets like this, a lot of other people out there do also, there's still a market for these box sets. I know these things are selling. I know there's a lot of people out there that have already pre-ordered them. And as much as I love this album and I'd love to have a copy of this box set, I think just out of sheer principle, I just cannot spend that much money on this box set. It actually reminds me a lot back in 2018 when Guns N' Roses released the Locked and Loaded Appetite for Destruction box set, which I want to say I think was like $1,000 when that came out. And there was a ton of content in that. And it's probably to this day, probably the nicest box set I own. Patience definitely paid off with that because I waited, I think it was like 2 years, and I finally was able to grab one for, I think it was like just over $200, $250 I got that box set for. It's really nice. It's definitely worth that price that I paid for it. So hopefully these aren't super limited. I can eventually grab a copy once the prices start coming down on it. And yes, the box set is also available on CD for around $50, which is much more affordable than the $350 that they're asking for it on vinyl. But like I said, when you look at what they're asking for the standard album on their website for $175, and you compare that to the extra 2 LPs and this extra material in this 30th anniversary box set, the difference in pricing to me just doesn't make sense. So the box set is getting released on November 21st, so it might take a while. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know if it's going to be available during those end of the year sales on some of those websites because it comes out so late in the year. November 21st, a lot of those websites might have it excluded for some of those Christmas and New Year sales. So I might have to wait until some sales come around early next year to try to be able to snag a copy of this. Well, that's all I got for you today, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. Make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think of this. What do you guys think of this 30th anniversary box set from the Smashing Pumpkins? Because I know there's a lot of people out there that have already pre-ordered this. So have you grabbed a copy of it already? Or are you like me? Are you going to try to wait until you can find it on sale somewhere? Because as much as we've all complained about the price of records over the last couple of years, I think this is like an egregious example of where the price of records are nowadays. Because audio-wise, I didn't see anything online that makes me think they're justifying the price of this, because I didn't see where this is remixed or remastered or anything like that. So I think the audio on this album is the same audio that's on every other version of this album that's available out there. So that's why I said instead of throwing on some random live performances from 1996, I think it would have been better off, pulling out some actual studio material, adding that onto a 5th LP, and just doing 5 standard albums in the box set, and doing that as a $200 30th anniversary box set. I think that would have been something that would have been much more palatable to fans out there, instead of getting this big bloated box set. But let me know what you guys think. Like always, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. That's all I got. Until next time, keep on spinning. Peace.